Hello, everyone. I welcome you to the Healing Series. In our session today, I would like to share with you the body snapshot technique. This is a technique that I usually use with some of my clients who have worked with me for the longest period of time. By this, I mean someone who has committed for 3 months, 6 months, or a year. But I'm sharing this technique with you today so that you could practice it, and this would help you getting a little bit more closer to your inner self. So let's get started. Today I will teach you this technique with the help of two of my clients. So here I have Joseph and Neeta. Now both of them, they work in an IT firm, and they're two separate firms. So the both of them, they are not related to each other. They just work in the same industry, but both of them, they come from two different organizations, and both have more than 13 years of work experience. Now, if you look at their expressions, this is how I found Neeta when she reached out to me for taking up my coaching assignments, The Journey of Self. And this is Joseph. The common emotions that they both went through or were going through at that point in time was they were confused, annoyed, very, very edgy and reactive. And the reason was that the one thing that was common was they were dealing with a very difficult client and not a very supportive boss. So this left both Neeta in her role and Joseph in his role with this same set of emotions. And this body snapshot technique, as I just spoke to you about, is what I shared with them, which was one of the very first steps that helped them in the long run. In fact, I guess they still practice it because it's a very simple technique. And at the same time, it is something that you could be using it lifelong because it's like a diagnosis tool which is helping you reconnect back to your inner self at a more deeper level. And the more you know yourself, you will find that it's easier to deal with your complex emotions, with your impulses in a more effective way. So as we get started, I just want you to grab a pen and a paper because this will have a few set of questions that you might need to answer this for yourself as you practice along with me, or you could practice it whenever you feel like. So for both Joseph and Neeta, my first question was, how is my body feeling today? Now, this one is when I started my coaching assignment with them, I just asked them, and this was in two separate sessions. I mean, I didn't coach them together, but I put in both of them together because it was a case where they both had a very similar problems. And I have extensively used this particular technique with both of them. So I would ask them that anytime they feel a bit overwhelmed, confused, annoyed, and reactive, all I asked them to do was take 3 deep breaths with a paper and a pen, or if they can just write it on, I mean, just type it on their laptops. Answer this question, to pause, get a little centered, and answer this. How is my body feeling today? This is the first question. If you want to do this right away, you can pause the video, take 3 deep breaths, and answer this question. Next, once you've answered that question, the next one is, what is the sensation of this, fill up the blank, in my body right now? Now, Once you've answered how you're feeling, here's where you're trying to label the sensation. So you are putting a name to it, a label to it. This sensation or this feeling, wherever you feel it in your body, just try to describe it. What is this sensation? And friends, this is just for, uh, it's just between you and the pen and the paper. So do not shy away or write. There's no censor here, whichever way you feel, whatever you feel. And even if you feel nothing, just write, I have no sensations, which is also absolutely normal. Some people have very sensitive bodies, we have a lot of sensations. Uh, and for some of us, it could be that we don't really have any particular one. And in that given case, don't think there's anything wrong with you. Instead, just label. You can just simply write, what is the sensation of this in my body right now? If you have no sensations, just write, I have no sensations. It's blank. Whichever way you feel is convenient, is more appropriate, which comes to your mind, the very first thing when you think of the sensation in the body, simply put it down here. Next, now if this area, so this is in case any body part of you is holding a sensation, which can be you feeling the pulse, you have your heart pounding, you could hear your heart in your ears, or you have your stomach growling. It could be anything, or tingling in your feet, in your fingers, or some kind of itchiness on your skin, or as I said earlier, there could be no sensations. Whichever way it is, if you have found sensations, this is the final question, wherein you are going to give this body part of yours permission to speak. What would it say? So I had put both Joseph and Nita into these three questions because Joseph and Nita were those working professionals who were enmeshed into a lot of stress due to a difficult client and a very difficult boss. This was a very common thing between the two. And when I asked them to answer these three questions, which they were not supposed to answer it just once, but anytime they were into situations where they find themselves confused, annoyed, overwhelmed, reactive, impulsive, I asked them, you could practice this anytime in your workspace or even in your personal life. Simply find yourself a place, sit down, take 3 deep breaths, and answer these three questions. Now, what really happened was, I've also asked them to maintain a log, wherein every time they felt this, they kept making note of their emotions. This technique, this body snapshot technique, is basically helping you create that diagnosis. And in case of Nita, she had almost in a month, perhaps she's done this only 2 times. And in case of Joseph, he ended up doing this maybe more than 7 times. And then towards the end, I asked them if they could connect and understand, which gave them a deep insight into what really triggers them. They both had different stories because our life is unique, so are our experiences. And in both their cases, their trigger came in from 2 different areas, which I'm not sharing it here, but I am just guiding you in this regard that once you have answered these 3 questions, and you may do this over a period of time, let's say in a month, every time you feel confused, annoyed, you feel yourself you're being reacting a lot, try to do this. Answer these 3 questions. You will find that you have in a way, be able to read the pattern of what really is at play, the pattern of those emotions which constantly triggers you, the body sensations that comes out of because of that emotion. Sometimes it could just be simply neutral, and then eventually when you connect the dots, what is it they are telling you? Just like this body part, if it could speak right now, what would it say? And you will, friends, find a deep insight, sometimes even perhaps a solution to what you were looking for a very long time. So go ahead and try this. I would just like to close this particular session with a quotation from Drew Gerald. Look outside and you will see yourself. But when you look inside, you will find yourself. Finding ourselves may take a lifetime, but this simple technique could be the very first steps that you could do anytime. Practice it, and you move 1 inch closer to yourself. Thank you.